Chicken stroganoff is a dish of Russian origin. It's generally made with beef or chicken, and smetana or Russian sour cream is used to make the creamy sauce. It's extremely easy to prepare, nourishing, comforting, and delicious, and this is why it became so popular all over Europe. In every country in Europe, it's made slightly differently. Some people use mushrooms, some don't. Some use Worcestershire sauce, some don't. This is my recipe that I've been making for my family for many years now. I start off by making the sauce, some sour cream, you can also use yogurt and cream, some Dijon mustard, some HP sauce. I like to add some paprika to this and then give it a good whisk, some salt and pepper to season it, and then I set it aside. I use regular mushrooms, white or brown mushrooms. I take off the stalks and then I just wipe them with a slightly damp cloth. You don't want to wash these mushrooms. I then quarter them into large chunks. This way they keep their shape when they're cooked and don't become mushy. Heat a little olive oil in a large pan. Always cook mushrooms in an extra large pan so you don't crowd them. I sear them on high heat for just a couple of minutes until they start to smell fragrant. Don't overcook them. You want them to retain their shape. Then reserve the mushrooms, and while the mushrooms are cooling off, it's time to proceed with the rest of the dish. Heat a little butter and olive oil in the same pan. I use chicken breast for this recipe, but you can also use chicken thighs. I cut them into 2-inch pieces, salt, pepper, a little paprika, and a little bit of Maida all-purpose flour. This will help to thicken the sauce and also to caramelize the chicken when you cook it. A couple of cloves of garlic, not too much. This is not a very garlicky recipe. It has very subtle, mellow, warming flavors. Now add the chicken and sear it on high heat just for a couple of minutes. What you're looking to do here is to seal all the juices in the chicken, keep it juicy, and you'll finish cooking the chicken in the sauce later. Once you've done that, you want to drain out the chicken and reserve it like the mushrooms. The next step is to saute the onions. I used green onions in this recipe because I didn't have shallots. You can also use white onions, but avoid red onions. Thinly sliced, cook them in a little bit of butter and olive oil until they're just soft. Add a little salt to sweat the onions. And now return the chicken to the pan. And now for a very important ingredient, which is chicken broth. You can make your chicken broth at home, but please don't use water. Chicken broth really brings a lot of body and flavor to this dish. Add the broth and on a low flame, start to cook the chicken so that it can become tender and juicy. I like to add a few teaspoons of white wine. You don't have to, it's up to you. But it makes it kind of a little grown up, the dish. If you're cooking it for children, you don't have to add the white wine. Now add the cream mixture, stir it well, lower the flame, and cook until the chicken is thoroughly done and the sauce has thickened. This is not a thick, heavy sauce. This is a creamy sauce. It's got a nice glossy texture. It's really just very lovely. Now, when the dish is ready, switch off your flame and add the mushrooms and give it a good stir. I like to garnish this with some freshly chopped parsley. You can taste it for salt, add a little more paprika if you wish, but this isn't a spicy dish. It's generally served with flat egg noodles, mashed potatoes. Some people even serve it with polenta, but I just serve it with good old rice because it's the easiest thing to serve it with. You can make herb rice if you like. Almond rice too is lovely. This is just a lovely, comforting, old-fashioned classic meal. You'll find the recipe on my YouTube channel. I do hope you'll make it. It's a real family pleaser. Enjoy. A little historical nugget about this dish is that it is named after the House of Stroganoff, a family of extremely wealthy Russian noblemen. From the time of Ivan the Terrible, they were the richest businessmen in the Tsardom of Russia. They financed the Russian conquest of Siberia and the reconquest of Moscow from the Poles. This dish is said to be a remake of an older existing Russian recipe, which their French cooks reimagined with wine and cream and more extravagant ingredients.